Hey everybody, this is Roberta Eastman from Home Buyers Inventory, and thank you so much for joining us. Today we wanted to answer your question about how do you get the best mortgage deal. So today we're going to talk about the 5 essential tips to remember. This is a question we get often as well. Who do I go to get a mortgage? How do we get that mortgage? And how do I make sure I'm getting the best mortgage? We actually have resources on the ground in your area that we can send you to, and going to a mortgage broker is usually free, and then you set up a plan in order to get your mortgage. But the 5 essential tips to remember that we're going to go through today, that is going to get you started, and it is brought to you by Home Buyers Inventory. So thanks for asking the questions so we can keep answering them. Let's get started. In today's market, new houses are at their finest when it comes to sales. And we're seeing a lot of the old houses, they're being exchanged for the newer ones now. So if you want to finance a new home, the best way to do that is through a mortgage. And what they do is they consider that to be leveraging somebody else's money, right? Because you're going to the bank and you're going to leverage the bank's money to give you a mortgage so you can finance your new home. So leveraging the bank's money is so that you don't have to use all of your own cash. And if there are instances that you're not eligible because of some credit concerns, this shouldn't worry you. So even if it's not today you're going to be buying a home, you can still plan for it in the future. And it is probable that in just a short time you can buy a home if you follow these tips. See, I know this to be true because it took me only 2 years to get myself straightened out and back on my feet. When I had credit issues and I had a lower credit score than what the bank would allow me to have, I had to do some work and get some things taken care of on my credit, but in doing that, it took me just a short 2 years. And for us, that's why we do a 2.5-year term at Home Buyers Inventory when we have our rent-to-own homes, so that you have the time that you need and we can help you to get yourself back on your feet so you can go get a mortgage from a lender. So again, you have 2.5 years with Home Buyers Inventory. That gives you plenty of time to get everything paid off and removed from your credit and financing complete. For you to be able to save money, you should not make any large purchases for the next couple of months. Instead, save money for your down payment. The reason for this is that even a debt of only $15,000 will still appear unpleasant to the mortgage lender's credit score system. I recently applied for a mortgage myself. We were about to close on the loan, and the bank wanted to know what the $1,200 entry in my bank account was for. I had to explain it was my annual house insurance payment. Then they had me send them the bill. So even that small amount caught the bank's attention. So number 2, in choosing a home, do not choose a very costly one, especially if this is out of your budget. You have to ensure that you're able to pay your debt load consistently. So before choosing the type of house you want, consider your income first. We will talk about overextending yourself in just a moment. This is a mistake a lot of people make, and it hurts most of us in the long run. Number 3, be qualified for a mortgage. Make sure that you will get approved. In order to qualify, you're required to submit your credit information to a mortgage lender. And you must allow your lender to get your credit report and debt and income data. You can go to a mortgage broker. They will gather all your information and submit it to several banks in the area. So instead of going to just one mortgage lender, a broker will give you more options and make sure you ask for the best terms and rates. And number 4, each of us has a personality when it comes to money. And it's known, or we call it here at Home Buyers Inventory, we consider this our money rules. So this is reflected in what we spend our money on, such as expensive cars, RVs, boats, TVs. Our money rules here at Home Buyers Inventory say that we need to make sure we have sufficient money for our home before we can buy any of these other things. If we want some of these other things, which the people here at Home Buyers Inventory, we don't live a very expensive life at all. So we would not buy expensive cars and RVs and boats and TVs, but other people do. And I would encourage them, if they do want to buy something expensive, then they put the money into the account and they can't buy it until they've got X dollars in the account. Maybe that's the down payment piece of it, or maybe it's the full amount, but you have to have money rules. And this would be a good place to have a money rule, is if you want to buy something, you have to have X number of dollars, whatever that is for you, in an account before you can go ahead and buy it. That would be a money rule. When we have the let us buy expensive things with our money personality, it is difficult to maintain a home. So consider if you're willing to hold back in spending on expensive items in order to have a home, where you're going to plant your roots, you're going to have a place to call your own, and your children, if you have them, are going to be able to play safely. And number 5 essential tip for today is keep in mind that home possession does require on-time payments. The charge of a non-payment on a loan is definitely a lot larger than the fine of missing a rent fee. So, you can be charged 10%. That's what we do at Home Buyers Inventory. If somebody is late on their rent, then they are charged 10%. But when you're doing it on a loan, on a mortgage, the interest rate and the fees and the way the banks operate, it is a much larger fine, not just only in money, but it affects all kinds of other things in your personal life as well. So do make sure that you're about to pay on time every time when you have a mortgage or your rent. And that way you could avoid all of those extra fees and costs, which just eat away at your money that you could be using for something else. And owning a home has many benefits that outweigh the frustrations of renting for life. See, I know what it's like to rent for a long time. My parents, my mom and dad, rented their whole lives, which meant when I was living with them, I rented my whole life. So I never had a house of my own as a child growing up. And when my mom passed away and my father was left asking, now what? We didn't own the home, so he couldn't stay there. And that's tough when you're 80 years old and you've just lost your wife and none of the children were left at the home. I'm the baby and I was already gone. So he then moved from kid to kid, each one of my siblings, with nowhere of his own to live. That became really important for me to be able to say, Home Buyers Inventory is going to be the place where we can go get homes and then we can offer them to other people who can't buy them today, but we can help them get financially set up and we can help them get mortgage ready, that in 2.5 years they can go to the bank and get a traditional mortgage and own their own home. So for my dad, my pop, which is what I used to call him, and still do actually, he then passed away. And in my mind I thought, this is not the way it's supposed to be. When you're in your 80s, you should have your own place to lie to rest. It was that moment I was determined to have Home Buyers Inventory help others to own a home. So if you are planning to apply for a mortgage, be sure to remember these 5 essential tips in order to end up successful with the best mortgage there is. So if you're not ready to get a mortgage today, but you want to own your own home and set up the roots in the safe place for you and your family, then come do a rent-to-own home with Home Buyers Inventory. Get yourself on your feet with your credit. Get your self-employment taxes in order, or if you've just relocated, have your job for 2 years, because that's what the bank requires. They either want you to have good credit for 2 years, they want you to have self-employment taxes that are showing that you are actually making money in your business, or they want you to, if you've relocated, they want you to have a new job for at least 2 years. So come have a home with home buyer's inventory where you are guaranteed your purchase price, you are guaranteed the exclusive right to buy the home, and you are now counting the months until you no longer have to pay rent. So also get a free guide on how to move in with home buyer's inventory by clicking the link.